They didn't take my life, but they did silence me. They made me take 909 steps back in regards to like my livelihood and my accomplishments that I have achieved as a brown man, as a Chicano man, when the playing field is not the same.
Press the button to begin.
You're listening to The Social Primate with your host, Eddie Aguirre. And today we have the one and only, the powerful, Jag Arreola. Jag, thank you so much for making the time out here.
Brother Eddie, thank you for having me, and congratulations on all your success coming up, man. It's good to see you again. It's been a little minute. Let's catch up.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, just for some context to our listeners, I was able to speak with you in about maybe November of 2023, a couple of weeks before you had this unfortunate life-changing event happen to you. And just a quick recap on what we discussed then, we were basically just really, catching up on the power of connecting with our identity and kind of the ways indoctrination shows up in our life, and how, little by little, we go through this phase in our lives where we start trying to decolonize and trying to make sense of the world around us based on this newfound identity, right? So having that conversation with you and then seeing what unfolded over the next couple of weeks, then it was definitely eye-opening just to see how far the system was willing to go to put you in this position. And you and along, like, what was it? It was a Justice 8, basically.
Seven other
people.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about that. Like, what was going through your mind when all that initiated?
I appreciate the question, man. Thank you for bringing it up, and I appreciate your kind words. It's a trip because the last time I was in the studio where we recorded our previous conversation, I'd like to say I was already under investigation. I was under investigation for 10 weeks before my arrest. I was arrested December 14th at around approximately 4 a.m. We heard the law enforcement outside the doors, intercom, aircraft, and they said the 2 people who live at this residence, you need to come out with your hands up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a very, very, very frightening, very, very real life. And I'd like to believe that as people who are advocates of change, people who voice empowerment for others, for the marginalized, for the disenfranchised, for the indigenous, for the worker, the immigrant, the Latino, our Black relatives, our queer relatives, somebody who's very intersectional with what I push, I can't say that I didn't expect this to ever not come. It's not it's not if it'll happen to you, it's when it'll happen to you, So, we got raided at 4 a.m, man. But last time I was talking to you, I was already under investigation for 10 weeks by the San Bernardino Sheriff Department.
Damn, that's crazy to know that was already happening. And again, it just felt like it unfolded really quickly after the fact, And before you know it, we're all trying to scramble to see what people can do outside of that to see how we can assist,
Thank you.
And I from there, after that, I actually had a conversation with Jeanette Villafaña from LA Taco, and also with
Phenomenal journalist, right?
Yeah, dude, she is fantastic.
Salute to her.
So salute to her. And also I had Dan Chambers on the podcast.
Salute to
So, it was just a matter of us trying to figure out what we can do in all this, right? So I think it was very important that we had these individuals on the ground, basically, doing this for you and for what this meant as a whole to everybody else, right? So speaking with them, trying to figure out what's going on, the resources, where we stand and what we can do. I think not only did it educate us in terms of what tactics work, right? You had character letters being written about you. And it took the community to be able to put you in the position where you had them on your side.
Yeah. So, my shout out to my attorney, Dan Chambers. Thank you for bringing him up. He's a big reason why I'm home, why I'm free, and also why every charge was dismissed against me. And they didn't have any evidence against me. Mr. Chambers proved that in the court of law. He absolutely destroyed the district attorney in the courtroom. A very, shout out to Dan Chambers Law Firm. And for me, it was the community, like you're saying. Over 50 character reference letters were written in my support. People from the many communities that I'm a part of, the communities of mobilizing and organizing, the indigenous spaces, the migrant support spaces. I grew up in a neighborhood where my father was a soccer coach for over 30 years. So some of the homies I grew up that I haven't seen for a very long time, but they know what I'm about. They know what I represent. They were kind of like, damn, like, this is a good homie. Like what? Like,
Right.
like, how could they get him, you know? And again, I was facing a conspiracy charge. I was facing assault with a deadly weapon. I was facing originally it was a kidnapping charge, but it changed the next day when I was in the county jail. The next day I saw my paperwork, it said false imprisonment. So a slew of trumped up charges, right? Falsified charges that had no evidence against me. I was in there, you know, I was advised by my legal team, don't talk to nobody. There could be informants. This is serious. It's a political persecution. And I stayed on my Bobby Seale, Huey P. Newton, all the many freedom fighters that I've learned from, Dr. King, Fred Hampton. Hey, anybody could be an informant. You know what I mean? So, and this is what we're dealing with. When you're spied on for 10 weeks, you're followed to work. I was a middle school history teacher when this happened. You know, I lost my career out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't mind telling me a little bit about that, I mean, obviously, you know, they pulled the rug from under your feet in terms of what your livelihood was, right?
100%.
So tell me a little bit about how that impacted you and in general, just seeing the consequences of what they were trying to pin on you.
Just like you said, brother, they pulled the rug from under my feet. It was a complete change of a life pattern. I was used to a lifestyle that I was very comfortable doing because I worked so hard as a person of color, as a Chicano man, as a Mexicano, as an indigenous person, to, you know, climb the social mobility in this country, right? In order to be able to survive kind of comfortably. I got a career that I worked very hard for, that I invested a lot of my money, right? Family helped me out, and it just all got taken away. My teaching credential got taken away from me. California teaching credential, which is, it's relatively very challenging to get, you know, especially, you know, I come from a low income community. You know, the neighborhood where I grew up in is not the best schooling that I came from. You know, we're all English learners. It's a marginalized community, man. It's a brown community, first generation. A lot of people, more than half of the people are first generation. I come from a neighborhood where we have the most Mexican immigrants in the Inland Empire, which is the city of Fontana, which is what I represent honorably. And now, man, I'm in the political fight in Fontana. You know, I introduced the sister Jazita. She's running against the mayor Aquanetta Warren, who who was a key player in what was happening in Fontana at the time, because my co-defendant Alex Enamorado sued the city of Fontana, and right after he sued her, that's when we all got raided. It's weird.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about this the last time, when the work that you guys were doing out there, really just trying to bring awareness, protect the people out there, you know, protect our communities, right?
Yes.
That they would go this far to try to smear you guys first and foremost, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, basically silence you guys. Because
Yes.
from my understanding, I remember early on too, I think you had mentioned you couldn't even be on social media. Like,
I was
they
banned
had
from
a gag
social
order.
media. Yeah.
Dude,
Because
yes.
a court order banned me from being on social media. For a cool minute, I was asking my attorney, hey man, like, I'm trying to get back online, you know, like, I'm an artist, like, this is how I also make income, because I release my music through there, announce it. So it was very hard for me to maneuver through that. They took away my credential, which is my livelihood, and then my side hustle, which is my art. I was also banned from that too. So they did silence us. They muted me. They muted me from social media for sure.
Did you feel like that was like their intention to just
100%. 100%. The judge at the Victorville courthouse said, you know, I heard it from her own mouth, you know, not verbatim, but we can't have this guy online. We don't know, like, yeah, if we let him go out on bail, we don't want to run the risk of this guy being online, because guess what? I promise you, Brother Eddie, that if I was home, and that if they did let me go and they allowed me to be on social media, on everything I love, I would have still mobilized the people using my social media platform. I need everybody to pull up to court to support Alex Enamorado and the rest of my co-defendants. So it was really strategic on them to not allow me to be online, because they knew this fool's going to bring a lot of people to the courthouse. The courthouse is already packed. People couldn't even get in. Dang. Well, you know what? Now it's going to be people outside in the hundreds. Palabra, I guarantee it would have happened, you know, have they not have silenced me and muted me on social media, for sure.
Dude, how long ago was this whole process?
How long did it take for it to finish my case? I would say it took about a year and a half.
A year and a half. Dang.
Yeah. I just recently beat the case.
Yeah.
Even though I've been home, I was fighting the last charge for about a year. About a year and a half.
Dude.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask that because when you really think about where we were when this initially happened, the factors that it all took to kind of get you guys there, and what we're seeing now, right? We're currently facing these ICE raids, these goons coming out. We're seeing like these attacks on First Amendment and all this stuff.
Simon.
But it just shows that it feels like we've always been here. At this point, it just exploded out of control.
Yes.
You know.
I totally agree. I would like to say that what was going on in my neighborhood, the city of Fontana, it was a precursor. We started getting a lot of surveillance on us. The city council meetings used to be around 6 p.m. Every second Tuesday of the month. Me and some of my co-defendants, we would go. We'd voice our public opinion because street vending got banned in my community.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason I say these ICE raids with the masked goons coming out, we saw a precursor to this in my neighborhood when the street vendors started getting harassed by masked members of a private company called Four Leaf. Four Leaf was hired by Aquanetta Warren, the mayor of Fontana, who is very xenophobic against Mexican people, indigenous people. She's part of the English only kind of crowd. And she hired a $600,000 company she used $600,000 of the taxpayers, to finance this goon squad to come steal people's carne asada. If you're vending in the street, they would pull up, take your carne. If you sell aguas frescas, they would put sandbags inside of them.
Dude.
Just the most foul, vile, harmful stuff to our working class, migrant, the most marginalized people, man. So, this was a precursor. They would film them. Guess what? One of my co-defendants, Alex Enamorado, he would document this. He would expose this harm that was happening to our community. And he had a big influence. That's why they had to silence him. That's why he's still held captive. That's why we got to continue to support his freedom. The best way to support him coming home is packing the courthouse. Currently, right? I know people could follow his Instagram page, which is ran by his family, at Enamorado Backup. At Enamorado Backup. It gives all the information as to when his next courthouse is, how you can write him a letter. He's currently incarcerated in San Bernardino County still. Again, this was a precursor to these ICE raids, having these masked goons pulling up to Raza street vendors, right? And taking away their stuff, looting them, right? The ruling class, the Republicans, they're always crying about, oh, looters during riots, looters. You guys loot the working class. You guys are the world champion looters. You loot the global South, Africa, Latin America, Asia, the Middle East. You guys are the world champion looters, and you loot the working class of your own country. And that's what they do, especially undocumented people, right? Because guess what? When an undocumented person doesn't have that seguro, right, to turn in, I think they pocket all that money that they worked on the fabricated social. So again, we saw the precursor coming in my neighborhood specifically. We have the most Mexican residents in my barrio where I grew up, my city. Most of it is a truck stop now. Most of it is a warehouse. The southern part of my community became a shopping cart for Amazon. They call it the shopping cart of America. My neighborhood, the city of Fontana, we're top 5 in the nation with the worst air quality in the world. It is far from being one of the safest cities ever. You grow up knowing you're going to get asthma there. If you move away for college, go to school in Santa Cruz, your lungs will get better because it's a different environment. So again, environmental racism, and intentionally on an oppressed, marginalized people. And you got people that speak up against that suppression, you get silenced, like me and 7 others.
Now, while you were silenced, what kept that resolve in you to keep going? I mean, obviously you want to voice yourself, you want to, express yourself, you want to write. Like, yeah. What kept you sane?
It radicalized me for 909 more years, brother. Like, for me, I'm not ever going to surrender. I don't surrender. I don't bend the knee at fascism. Seeing what's happening to my people now only motivated me to get more involved in my community. I'm a part of a lot of spaces where people are doing rapid response, Migra Watch. Yeah. So we keep an eye on the Migra. There's groups out in the Inland Empire that have kind of like picked up game from like Unión del Barrio. Shout out to Unión del Barrio, Ron and all the gente over there, Lupe Carrasco, the homie, Sean Arce, Teresa Montaño, all my professors, man, because I'm also a student, you know what I mean, in the Chicano struggle. And I'm a graduate student now, but again, for me, it's just like my fight is still here. It's still advocating for decolonial ethnic studies. It's still advocating for street vendor rights in my neighborhood. I'm in that city council meeting. They know who I am. I'm not afraid. the Fontana Police Department, the San Bernardino County Sheriffs, they know exactly who I am. I'm still going to be out there. Nothing is going to stop me, because I'm also motivated by the struggle and the lucha of the people in Gaza, right? In Palestine. They don't surrender, through a live stream genocide, living in an open air prison, So, and speaking of that, when I got raided, bro, I had no idea why I was being arrested. Palabra, I promise you that.
Yeah.
When I got raided, the first thing that came to mind was like, damn, they raided me because I'm speaking so much about Gaza. I'm like, they're going to investigate me for this. What they're going to interrogate me about is, what are your connections to people there? I thought it was deeper, like some Pentagon related type of stuff.
Yeah.
That's how unaware I was of what I was being falsely accused of. So when they have me, I already know the deal. I don't speak to Judas. That is not my the education I come from is wait until you got an attorney. So I did get taken into an interrogation room.
Yeah.
I need a lawyer. That's it.
I mean, if you're able to speak on it,
Sure.
like what were the interactions? I know you mentioned that you kept to yourself and so you had representation.
Yes.
But what was the interactions between you and those people who were taking you?
So when they took me, it was interesting because I got raided, and I got raided by the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. Okay. But they took me to the Fontana Police Department station, which is weird. San Bernardino is about 2 cities away from Fontana. We got like Rialto and Colton in between. And so me, it was strange. I'm like, they're going to take me to San Bernardino station. These are the fools raiding me. But they take me all the way to, the city of Fontana, which is right next to City Hall, where we go to make public comments, gather the people. And I remember rolling up. I still didn't know what I was being arrested for. No clue, right? And then I see they park the car. Another patrulla rolls up, and I see my co-defendant Alex Enamorado. I see him, and I'm like looking, but the windows are brindadas, right? They're dark, but I see him. I see him because they took him out. They started taking people one-on-one. I was the last person they took, so I believe Mr. Enamorado was the second to last. They had us all lined up. I remember seeing my other co-defendant Wicked, get taken, and then I don't recall if I saw the mujeres there. I might have, but I know I saw the men. My co-defendant Force, shout out Force too. Good to see he's home. Really good dude, man. Phenomenal basketball player, great internet personality, and a voice that really put himself on the line also for the betterment and the defense of our community, street vendors against police brutality, because we weren't just voicing support for street vendors that had got banned, but we were also voices against police brutality and voices for police accountability, specifically in Victorville, because a 16-year-old girl was body slammed by a sheriff. And so, again, when I was at the police station, I saw them get taken in, and there was just one cop at a time. He seemed like more like a dress, very casual, right? Like kind of like not real police clothes. So I was the last person they took in for interrogation. And, when he took me out, it was like 5 hours after I'd been arrested. I was in the cop car for 5 hours. Damn. 5 hours. What? I was going crazy. In my mind a little bit. I was just trying to keep calm. It was very uncomfortable, right? So my sisters and brothers who have been in a police vehicle, they're aware. And then I have a lot of, peers and loved ones who have been incarcerated for calendars and calendars. So again, they're fully aware of what I'm speaking about. Yeah, 5 hours. I was the last person. And I remember seeing, as soon as, like, for example, they would take Force in, all right, they would finish, whatever, and they would drive away, to take them to jail. Then they would take the next person, Wicked, and then Eden. And then I was like, damn, bro, when they coming for me? And there's nobody in the car with me. And I would just look at the time the whole time. I see a clock. It's 5 in the morning now. It's 6 in the morning now. It's 7 in the morning now. Okay, I didn't get if I could say it's 8:30 is when I got so about 4.5 hours. You know what I'm saying? And they took me out the car. So I go in. This was the most I don't expect professionalism from law enforcement, right? Because I'm too well educated in the harm they do in our communities and who they exist to protect. They're here to protect capital and property, not the people, right? And so as I'm walking, mind you, I grew up in this city. Fools I went to high school with became Judas for that department. Okay, so it's really it's close to home. Like it's uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to the police department. It's busy. Go in. They're walking me in. See a bunch of cops there, jeans on and vests, and they're having coffee. They're looking at me and they start laughing. Okay.
Wow.
I don't expect professionalism, right? But I also don't expect to just be, ridiculed. So whatever. I don't mad dog them. I don't talk trash. I just keep walking with my chin held high and a straight face because I'm very confident that I know I'm innocent, and I proclaim my innocence, and I'll never surrender to those who are harming our communities. So as I'm going in, they take me into the room. They take out this big book, the Miranda rights. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Say, you're here because of a crime that happened in Victorville, California. Do you know what crime we're talking about? I need a lawyer. I don't even say, oh, I don't know what crime you're talking about. No, I need a lawyer. Yeah. That's my answer to everything. They tell me whatever they need to tell me. Oh, so if you don't say this and that, we're going to take you to the county jail. I need a lawyer. Okay, we're taking you to the county jail. So I just don't say anything. That's it. Boom. Troop it out. Get up out of there. As we're walking out, one of the same group of cops, they say, hey, Jaguar, ha, 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 the disrespect. So again, mind you, when I walked into the station, there's a lot of people. You got people in suits, the secretaria looking people, right? Like the office people, and a bunch of cops, uniformed and like special forces looking type of dudes, right? They have a big billboard poster. Has Alex at the very top, as if he's just like this crazy crime lord, right? The criminalization of our people is ridiculous, right? They put us out to be as like this crazy indictment of like these they're portraying us as these super terrorists. They have me on there, and they have all my co-defendants. It's a very well-known picture that they use. Operation Accountability is what they call it.
Yeah.
Tell people I'm an Operation Accountability veteran, right? Just like people go to Iraq, you're a veteran. Okay, I'm a veteran of the terrorism that happened to me in the land where I grew up on, right? And I was here before the United States even existed. I have ancestors buried up here in this part of the continent, and I have ancestors buried below the Frontera Falsa as well. But again, to see your face there, I'm just like, I know I rhyme about a lot of revolutionary hip hop and militant insurgency and this, but I never imagined being persecuted like that.
Yeah.
But I know it's possible. I know they killed Malcolm. People say, oh, like they killed Dr. King as well, right? They kill you whether you're peaceful, and they kill you whether you advocate for self-defense. You know what I mean? They'll silence you, and that's what they did. They didn't take my life, but they did silence me. They made me take 909 steps back in regards to like my livelihood and my accomplishments that I have achieved as a brown man, as a Chicano man, when the playing field is not the same for those of us who are first gen, the sons of migrants, the sons of people who work those wage jobs that are stolen wages by corporations like my parents have. Yeah. So again, it was quite the struggle, but that's kind of like my experience with the interrogation.
And how long were you? Did they keep you like jailed, basically?
So I was incarcerated for 15 days. 15 days. Yes, 15 days. And you know what, brother? I would have bailed out the first day if I could. 100%. I'm not a jailbird, homie. Like I've never been incarcerated, never been in trouble. So I'm not a person who has dealt with. No one wants to be jailed. No one wants to deal with prison. I don't think anyone likes it, right? But I have comrades, I have homies that have done some time, and maybe a little bit. Possibly not easier for them, but they know what to expect. I don't know what to expect. This is my first time being inside the system, in the carceral system, the for-profit carceral system, right? Because I'm in there, and just like my African relatives in there, it's a lot of African relatives in there, a lot of raza, a lot of Chicanos, and there's a lot of poor white guys in there too. A lot of incarcerated people, and none of us would be there if we had $1 million lawyer. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's a system that's created to target the impoverished, the marginalized. And so, the ruling class makes money out of every inmate, right?
Yeah.
It's so they need there's a demand for crime. There's a demand for people to be incarcerated. So 15 days, 20-hour lockdown, so 20 hours behind the cage, and about 4 hours to be out, like in like kind of like a day room where you can kind of watch TV and kind of hang out, walk laps and stuff. But it's it again, I didn't know what to expect. I've never been in the carceral system behind the beast, the Iron Beast. So for me, again, it was like I would have bailed the first night, but guess what? They blocked my bail. And my attorney, Dan Chambers, they blocked it. Yeah, I had no bail.
Yeah.
I had no bail until I came home. I went home because absolutely, like, we were like trying to get bail every time I went to court. It was a couple court dates. It took many court dates for me to even be able to get bail, right? They don't do that. I can't recall the exact verbatim from my attorney, Mr. Chambers, but it was very uncommon for him in his many years of expertise. He deals with dudes who are being charged with very serious crimes, homicides, etc., gang related crimes, all that. And he said, it was uncommon for him to deal with that. So he couldn't believe it. This guy's a teacher. He's never been in trouble. How are they blocking his bail? It's political,
Exactly. And, exactly when I had that conversation with him, it really opened my eyes as well. Just to just the fact that, again, this is basically, they're targeting you at this point. Like, they just want to keep you in this this place, right? Now, the homie Rob Camacho, he actually wrote a great piece on you, which is called, for people who want to check it out, under Calo News, revolutionary hip-hop artist Jag Arreola gets personal on his latest album, Unmasked. And in that article, I believe he was mentioned, or you mentioned to him, some of the conditions that you had to face there. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, man, it's just it's overcrowded.
Yeah.
It's overcrowded. We would be in the holding tanks. It's like 25 people in a really small cell, and like just like a one person kind of cell, one toilet, waiting all day for court, and so there's many tanks, and we had to wait until every person goes to court. Those days, I think I would wake up like at 3 in the morning, be on the bus by 5 in the morning, chained at the waist, chained at the hands. How do you even use the restroom when you're dealing with those inhumane conditions? You know what I'm saying? We're chained at the wrist, chained at the waist, chained at the ankles. You can't even move and don't move your hands. Don't try to make them a little more comfortable. It's only going to make it worse. The cuffs are going to get tighter. Your hands are going to get bruised. They'll be bruised by the end of the day, and you just got to deal with it, right? And again, this is what the United States government does to communities of color in majority, right? The carceral system is working. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly how it was supposed to, right? It was supposed to criminalize people. It wasn't supposed to end slavery, right? It was just supposed to switch slavery for those who are incarcerated. And that's what the Constitution says. You can be enslaved by the United States government if you commit a crime, right? And so many of our people are incarcerated for nonviolent offenses, right? And so again, some of the, just the, the bunker beds, right? I read a lot of history, man. I'm a history teacher, so it looks like a slave ship to me.
Yeah.
Every decker, I see people who, again, it's good people, you know what I mean? But just, and then especially me, man, I'm in there targeted by the system, I'm chopping it up with a dude that was like next door to me, and like I'm cool. And now like we kind of get to know him a little bit. We spent so many hours there together.
Yeah.
So I'm a teacher. You couldn't believe it, right? So again, it was also extra different for me to be in there, knowing that, man, I'm an asset to my community for sure. I got kids I'm supposed to go back to. My kids were on break during that time from school because it was the winter break. I spent the winter solstice in there, which is the longest night of the year. The longest night of the year is the winter solstice. So I spent it in prayer. I fasted while I was in there. I would fast. I would, just challenge myself, man. And I would keep the people in Palestine in mind. I would keep my sisters and brothers from Gaza, Ramallah, and the Jenin refugee camp, and knowing when they get thrown in Israeli prisons, they're getting tortured.
Yeah.
They're getting tortured with the use of U.S. tax dollars. U.S. tax dollars are funding the torture of Palestinians inside Israeli prisons, okay? So for me, it's like, I got to thug this out. I got to troop this out, because my struggle, it's not about oppression Olympics, but they're getting through it. I'm going to get through this. You know what I'm saying? That's what motivated me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just hearing you say that, man, I can't imagine how many people, unfortunately, will break down through that, you know? And I think, especially you as a creative, as an educator, and as somebody who, you radiate confidence and also the, um, the energy that you want to activate others. I think, I want to say that played a huge role and also in trying to get you to survive this, right?
Thank you.
And not only that, but it influenced this new phase of your career path as an artist itself. Now you've come to this whole new perspective of what it's like inside. How did that change your journey here as a musician?
It gave me thank you for everything you said, by the way. It gave me a lot of perspective. It makes me want to speak more about against the carceral system of injustice, right? They call it the criminal justice system. I call it the criminal system of injustice because that's what it is, But I would like to add on to your previous question, sobriety. I'm sober 24/7, 365 days of the year. So I know that it's more challenging for my sisters and brothers who were in the streets, maybe who had a vice, maybe alcohol,
Yeah.
different substances, and to get incarcerated and have that removed from you, it must be extra hard and difficult to deal with that. But for me, sobriety is how I decompress. Sobriety is how I get through my day. Sobriety, I push the message of sobriety being sacred and empowerment and liberating. So for me, it made it that much easier in a way because, it's my mentality is already, I don't need that when I'm in the streets. So I won't need it in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, it absolutely just motivates me to keep striving and struggling and, representing for the voices of the oppressed, not just here within the confinements of North America, right? Babylon, our sacred Turtle Island, as our indigenous communities call it. But when I make music, I do it from the geopolitical lens. I don't leave Burkina Faso behind. I don't leave behind Iraq, Afghanistan, Tonga, Samoa, my people from the Pacifica, the ocean navigators of the Polynesian islands, my Filipino relatives, my relatives from Guam, my relatives from Vietnam, right? My people of popular Korea. I don't leave anyone behind because our struggles are interconnected, right? To my people on the reservation in North Dakota, South Dakota, Colorado, to my people in an apartment complex in the southeast of LA, to the IE, our struggles are interconnected because, there is a ruling majority, right, who has built their wealth off of our backs, off of our stolen labor, stolen land, stolen knowledge, and stolen wages. So for me, I'm a worker, man, and that's what I remember. I'm about class consciousness, So, it could be a white dude who may see me as less human, but I'm trying to find the common ground where I can convince him, like, bro, like, you know what, they'd rather have me and you beefing it, they'd rather have us in conflict so they can continue to loot the working class. Me and you have more in common with the homeless relative that's at the freeway pass than we do with the millionaires and billionaires in Wall Street. Okay,
Exactly.
so I'm about that class consciousness, but I'm also a person that fights against colonialism. So I will not absolutely not unite with no Nazis. You know what I'm saying? I don't mourn Nazis who lose in this battlefield, because again, like I am about class consciousness, but I will not befriend enemies of humanity. You know what I mean?
No, and that's powerful that you say that because again, at some point or another, you do get to another level of thinking, right? When it
Right.
becomes when it evolves from it being just about you to the community as a whole, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's a natural progression. I think for the most part, for most individuals, right? I hope so. But for those who aren't in that position yet, right? Like, a quick example. A couple days ago, I was driving around the city of Bell in Southeast LA.
Shout out Bell.
Thank you, man. And I actually recorded a little video that I uploaded where I met this gentleman called Jack, and he's an 89-year-old white guy.
Sure.
But he was out there passing these no eye stickers in the middle of the road. Like, there's nobody around, but he's out there in the morning just doing this work, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, whoa, like that to me was a very, it was the embodiment of solidarity for this old man, right? Because I was like, dude, there's nobody else here, and he's still here doing the message.
Love to see it.
But while we're doing this person of color, this person that looks like me in my community, comes up to us and he starts saying, I support the deportations. Take everybody else that Biden brought in, like everybody else that's here before him, leave us here. And this whole time, I'm not engaging with him. I'm just listening, because sometimes I feel like you got to observe before you just start talking back, right? And I'm thinking like, this is so weird, because again, we have an 89-year-old white man and we have a 40-something-year-old Hispanic Latino man, right? Or Chicano man. I'm not
Sure.
too sure where he came from.
Sure.
But the person who's supposed to be defending that is not, right? And they're so in this, they're so indoctrinated that they don't even see outside of it. So it just kind of showed me how much work we still have to do outside our neighborhoods or in our neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
You know, we're just among each other. And like you said earlier, like we have more in common with somebody that's homeless or somebody that's feeling it really hard compared to these billionaires. So when are we going to open up our eyes to see that this is bigger than that?
It takes education, brother. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because, you know, not all skin folk, no, I've heard my black relatives say, not all skin folk are kinfolk, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it takes education. You know, I'm a graduate student, and I'm going to be fighting for ethnic studies, liberated ethnic studies, decolonial ethnic studies, because guess what? Had that man that you're talking about, that's kind of has a vendido Uncle Tomahawk kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Yes. Had he taken ethnic studies early on, and it being impactful on him, he won't end up that way.
Yeah.
Guarantee you. You don't get an Aquanetta Warren leading Fontana talking about being a black woman, talking about, oh, you need to learn English. Absolutely not. You're betraying our brother Malcolm X. You're betraying Dr. King when you say that as a person of color. Okay, so you are kneeling before the colonizers, before the slave masters. Okay, so again, decolonial ethnic studies, pushing for ethnic studies in every district, in every barrio, every ghetto, every hood, you know, every suburban area. You know what I'm saying? By having that beginning at K through 12, it can't start when you go to Whittier College, when you go to East Los College, Valley College in San Bernardino, Chaffee and Fontana. It needs to start kindergarten. That way our kids develop this class consciousness, right? About class. And they get also about race and being racialized people, right?
Yeah.
Our Asian relatives are, you know, the system has puts them against other ethnic groups as claiming they're the model minority, right? Which is a racist stereotype against them, right? It's very harmful, and our Asian relatives deserve to be respected. But it was the Reagan administration that created that harmful separation to make it seem as though they can accomplish it. Why can't you Latinos do what they do, right?
Right.
But again, it was to put them against our black relatives, against us, because we share our communities, right? And so, again, having education, powerful education, that's how you eliminate that kind of thinking. You know, we wouldn't have to, the mobilizing and organizing of our people against the establishment would be a lot easier if people already come in with this knowledge.
Yeah. And just real quick, I mean, I looked
Sure.
this up just because I wanted some context, but
Yes.
basically what you're saying, for people who are familiar with history, there's a specific event back in 1676, Bacon's Rebellion, which is basically a conflict, a class conflict,
Sure.
where it was, at the time, it was blacks and whites against the elites that were trying to uprise against them, right? But the government came, shut it down,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. But with the intent of avoiding that happening ever again, of both classes, black and white, regardless of what their status was in this class, from coming back together and uprising. So again, this is all systemic. It's just, there's history that backs all this up to prove that it's all about that separation, about secluding everybody and just making it seem like it's about you. If you're not looking after your own people, like, come on.
Yeah, and you know what? Just like you're saying, a lot of the ruling class, bro, if I was a Mexican billionaire, these fools in Wall Street would have more in common with me than they do with some white dude living impoverished in Palm Springs or something. You know what I'm saying? So it's a class war for sure.
Yeah. Now, touching a little bit on your album, Unmasked.
Sure.
Tell me a little about that, because when I first met you, you had your mask on, you performed with the mask on, and obviously as you went through this life change, you kind of started embracing yourself. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, obviously you had to do this because your identity was everywhere at this point.
Yeah.
But what was that process for you?
It was very liberating, brother. So my partner was speaking to my sisters-in-laws, and they were just like, my cuñadas, and they were just like, yo, he should I mean, his face is already out there. They put him on the news. You could search this fool up. Everything pops up about him. So he could it might be liberating to take the mask off now artistically, and yeah, I was living a double life for a very long time. I clock in as a teacher,
Yeah.
right? No mask. My students don't know what I do on the weekends. Sometimes I leave early because I'll have a performance in Sacramento or, San Diego, somewhere kind of far that I leave a little bit early from work. But I wanted to avoid, I just wanted to keep my artistic life separate from my professional work life, because that's how I make my livelihood. But it is liberating to now be unmasked, and, I'm a big wrestling fan, man. I grew up watching professional wrestling. That's the entertainment that I prefer the most. And, in lucha libre, the Mexican tradition, when people lose the mask that they compete with in that sport, in that form of entertainment, in that art, it's like, it's a big
Yeah,
deal.
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Like, they've been wearing the mask in the dressing room. Some of them drive to the venue with the mask on. They refuse to, like, ever show their identity anywhere. And so that's what it was like for me. And I remember being jailed. When I first hit the county, my lady was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, like, your face is all over the news. So, everybody knows what you look like now." That's like one of the first things my lady told me on the phone. And I was like, honestly, that was the least of my worries at the time, because, I have a lot of other stuff to mourn at the moment, right? And there was a lot, man. I had to mourn. My Instagram was mysteriously deleted when I came home from jail. I had 50,000 followers, and it was gone. It was a following that took me a long time to cultivate. It was a lot of my hard work. It was like, I did a lot of my business there, my music. I had to start a new Instagram, you know what I'm saying? But it got deleted. And so again, I had to mourn a lot of things, but to answer your question, it's been very liberating, not living that double life now. I work in school still. I'm not teaching at this moment because I just recently got my teaching credential, but I'm working through a nonprofit who, has blessed me with opportunities to go into schools and be a mentor and things like that. So, some of the students just recently, they saw me, they said I was going viral on TikTok because I was at a protest in San Bernardino because Migra raided somebody's home, and like the community got together and kind of successfully made the Migra retreat.
Nice.
And so, there was two students on the campus I was walking, and there were a couple, a young couple, and they were like, "Hey man, you're going crazy on TikTok the other day. I saw you," like, and I was like, "Oh really? Was I talking crazy to the cops?" Like, "No, you weren't even cursing. You were very professional, but you were like educating all the cops. You were telling them how could you do this to your own people, because the cops were Latinos themselves, and they're essentially protecting the Migra so the Migra can do their job." The cops were in San Bernardino pushing the community away to let Migra do their job, quote unquote. And I'm just kind of like on their helmet about like, bro, how could you betray your people like this?
Yeah.
How could you do this? Like, had that one time that Hura took ethnic studies with my professors, they would have never ended up in that uniform.
Yeah.
Straight up. Education is everything. Straight up.
Yeah, it's definitely intense to hear this story, because I feel like, again, if speaking personally, if that would have been me in your shoes, dude, I don't know, I would have lost it or something,
Sure.
But again, I think one of the important things, I think, is you being a creative, right? I think in the article you were talking about with Rob, just to backtrack a little bit, you were talking about just staying creative while you're in there, right?
Oh, yeah.
'Cause, I mean,
Absolutely.
that's really all you can really do to make sure that you, as yourself, stay consistent with the person that you've been building, right?
Yes.
Now, did you say a lot of that stuff came onto the new album, right? Unmasked?
Yeah, I would say over half of what's on the album was written while I was incarcerated. I had a lot of time, and it was just like a lot of time to think. I used really small pencils. They're like half the size of a regular pencil, and I would burn through them. Man, they would get small on me. Of so much writing, and I would write on envelopes that the carceral system gives you to be able to write to your family and stuff like that. So I would write on my envelopes, and then I'd run out of envelopes because I had so many lyrics, and I'd ask other people for envelopes, maybe barter, hook them up with something that maybe I had, like an extra snack that I saved maybe from the lunch or whatever. So yeah, man, like I wrote that in there, and it's it's what my thoughts are. I say I got a college education just to lose it all.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a very powerful line, and it really hits. It was hitting me a lot when I lost my credential, when I was in contact via email to the California Credential of Departments. I'm not sure their exact name, but as I was in communication with them, man, I'm thinking in my head like, bro, I went through all those years of community college, university, went back to the university, Cal Poly Pomona, and then Cal State San Bernardino, take my own credential, just to lose it all over over a crime I didn't commit.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody's innocent, man. Free them all. Free them all. You know, free them all. And I know the rest of my co-defendants are already home, but you know, they're innocent of all charges too. You know, it was a different situation for everybody. You know, we all had our own lawyers. You know what I'm saying? I had a beast. I had a Brock Lesnar lawyer. You know, Dan Chambers is Brock Lesnar. You know, straight up, he's Brock Lesnar in the suit. You know what I mean? That man is a beast. He is an animal in that courtroom. You know, he humanized me. First thing, that was a strategy. I'm gonna humanize this guy. Let me pull him away from everything going on, because you know they're charging us as just like this crazy terroristic group. Chamber strategy said, you know what? Let me pull him out. Let me humanize my client. You know, let me make him. I'm just gonna paint the picture of what he is. He's a teacher.
Exactly.
You know, he's a sobriety mentor. You know, he has a business of his merchandise. He's an artist. He fights for social justice in his music. You know, what the heck? Like they're tripping. So again, he painted me that, and then in the addition of 50 letters of good character, it was very supportive having that. And my partner, shout out to her, man, Jasmine. She really, really, really se movió. You know, not everybody that was busted with me, not all my co-defendants, I don't know what their situation was like. If their partners were like moviéndose, like my lady had the support of her sisters, my cuñadas were like full on it, and we had community. You know, we're a part of, my lady's an Aztec dancer, so we have an Aztec dance community. Our danza elder, she was at my courthouse. So man, I'm community made. I'm not nobody without the public that supports me and my peers and my comrades. That's why I said I don't got fans. I've never had fans. I have comrades. I have supporters.
Yeah.
My community. That's it.
Dude, and that's beautiful, because although, again, they unfortunately took everything that you built, they couldn't take that away from you.
Right.
You know, and that is already huge, because they stood by you. And, you know, I was there as an observer to see the amount of love and support that they were giving to you, you know?
Thank you, brother.
And, you know, we all try to do what we could as well. You know, like, honestly, it was one of those things that, again, it opens our eyes, and it kind of already set things up for what things we're going to evolve into, what we're seeing now, right? And now, one last question before we start wrapping it up, because I do want to play some of your music.
We could talk as much as you want, brother. We could play we could not play it, however you want. You know,
Oh, okay.
Let's go as much as you want. Yeah, no worries.
Definitely. So my question is, like, you've already had this perception of what these agencies are, what they work for, who they work for, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Where do you see ourselves going from now? I mean, it feels like that this trust is just tanked into the negatives now, right?
Oh yeah.
So how do we move forward with the people? How we connect with these agencies, again, that are air quotes supposed to protect and serve? What do we do? Where are we going?
You know, that's a loaded question, brother. I wish I knew the answer. I would say continue to mobilize and organize. To mobilize means, okay, get the word out there. You know, make the people aware of what's going on. You know, group them together like a marcha and a rally. That's mobilizing. Okay. But after people go home from that marcha, from holding up the banderas, we love our honorable nations from, you know, south of the colonial border, and, you know, we represent our heritage. We're brown pride. Okay, but that's mobilizing. We're there. We made it. We mobilized 1,000 people on the freeway in Los, in OC, in IE. Okay, what are we doing after though? What are we following up with? Yeah. What kind of campaign are we doing? And what is the goal? How long is the campaign gonna last? What's our deadline for this campaign? If they don't meet our demands, we gotta have demands. What are our demands? You know, this is our demand. Okay, when are the walkouts happening? We're the working class. We can shut all of it down. Everybody walks out at the same time, yeah. And we all need to meet. We all need to be on the same page, same mesa, and you know that's what they really fear. They fear a mobilized and organized proletariat working class, those who toil, the estudiantes. Because guess what? Same thing happened at Yale. You saw those young white girls and boys that were protesting in solidarity with Gaza, right? These are the children of very, very wealthy people in this country that go to these universities. Those are very expensive universities. But now you got them being brutalized by the police at those encampments. Yeah. And now it's all of a sudden, oh, shoot, you know, all eyes on the kids of rich white people. You know, we need the students, the estudiantes también mobilizing. And we can't just be in our own echo chambers, like you're saying. I can't just be at the rally where I know everybody's like, yeah, screw ICE, okay, cool. We gotta knock on doors. We gotta really, really get active and connect with everybody. We can't just stay in our echo chambers, We gotta connect, it's like when I go rap in these slows, I know what to expect. It's like Chicano movement over here, man. It's like the mecca of it, right? Hey, this is the stronghold, the headquarters of that. But if you go into these rural towns, Victorville, where I got locked up at, the movimiento is not strong like that, man. You're a target by the opposition, by our colonial adversary in these kind of towns. Where I grew up, it was the West Coast headquarters of the Ku Klux Klan back in the days. West Coast, yeah, for sure. So again, I grew up, but when I was growing up, it was just all raza, it was all gente, for the most part. So again, man, I say mobilize and organize and keep trooping through it. We've been through 500 years of linguicide, land theft, genocide, incarceration, deportation, forced relocation, and enslavement, our stolen labor and forced disappearances, our land split up, but we're still here. We've been through a lot. This is another escalated continuation of the colonial assault on our people, but we got to fight back. We got to fight back. And however people take that word, fight back, take it however people should take it however they think it means. But I know there's a diversity of tactics, okay? It's not just a rally. It's not just blocking the freeways. It's a lot of other stuff too, right? It's the walkouts. It's the working class. Okay, we're shutting this down. The unions. We got to get all these unions on board, man. So that's my response, brother. Thank you for the question.
No, thank you, Jag. I mean, honestly, it's always a great conversation with you. And honestly, man, I'm just glad you're here, man. And we're able to talk to you and catch up.
Thank you, brother. And thank you for having me on your podcast. I love the growth. I see you shining. I always see you, I see the different guests that you've brought on. I follow you on social media, Social Primates on social media. Everybody that's listening, wherever you're listening from, at Social Primates.
Social Primates, yeah.
Yeah. I love the gorilla character that you have. It's really, really cool. I think it's very original, very creative. And, it's like, wow, it's impressive seeing it talk and stuff,
Yeah, we try to keep it fresh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's fly. I like it. Definitely.
But with that, since we're at that time, I definitely do want to play one of your songs here, at least if we can. Before we do it, we got Simply Phenomenal. Tell me a little bit about that song.
Simply Phenomenal, man. Again, I go hard for my area. I'm from the IE. A lot of LA artists get recognition. I love LA. I perform here a lot, but I'm from the IE. I've never said I'm from Los Angeles. I go perform in Sacramento. I perform in North Dakota, Virginia, Tech University, Arizona. They're like, oh, they think Southern Cali, they think LA or San Diego. Nah, I'm from somewhere kind of in between a little bit. You know what I mean? So I represent it honorably, and specifically my neighborhood, the city of Fontana. I recorded that in my neighborhood. I had danzantes in there, Mexica, Chichimeca danzantes in the music video. I represent my city. I represent sobriety. I represent the indigenous struggle. You know what I mean? I was persecuted in my city for my struggle. That's where I lost the mask. Not in the lucha in the ring, but a different lucha, a different struggle. That's it, man.
Hey, well, once again, thank you so much for making the time to come out here. For people, if they want to find you on social media or catch up with you, where can people find you?
People can find me at Jag, Arreola. Jag Arreola on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, all that. Yeah.
And then your latest release is Unmasked. Right?
Unmasked, yes.
Okay, awesome. I highly suggest everybody to go check that out.
Thank you, brother.
We're going to sign off here. You're listening to KQBHLP, Los Angeles, California. And we're going to leave you with a song from Jag himself with Simply Phenomenal featuring DJ Survive and
produced by Acosta the Man.
Hey,
Shout out
yeah. Awesome. Everybody else, have a good night.
Love everybody. Thank you
guys.
It's the
good night.
phenomenal one. Unbreakable. Long live Chino XL.
This is it, I'm here, where it all started for me. I'm on Quiche, native land, a Fontana story. We thank every direction with a Teco Coli. The pressure was put on me with Sitting Bull style braids sitting on my scalp. Studied revolution, never knew nothing else. You know I gotta. I'm sliding up out of the gutter, gotta give love to Che Guevara. Aslan gunner from another atmosphere. Chicano indígena, we're the tip of the spear. See this danza chichimecas, what my people preserve. And I've been doing pull-ups on the edge of the earth. I know y'all sipping on the liquor cause it hurts, but I'm concerned. And if you think it's getting bad, it'll probably get worse. see we need you alert, making sure the flower altar is safe and secure. Every feather is earned. My beauty marks this bullet scar verbatims, vibranium. I run the steps every day at the Faux High Stadium. We won't let them suppress us. No treaties with oppressors. It's forever up, feathers up. The chapter just begun. I remember that Zapata was a factor where I'm from.
Phenomenal one.
Like guerrilla warfare with the grass from that Fontana district where the grass is dense. This commitment to sobriety gave me heightened senses. I'm not a slave to a substance, see I fight with vengeance. Crazy horses descendant, this is where I'm cemented. Broken fences in this section, they don't count us in the census. They wanted me fenced in high desert detention. Beat the case, this a war dance, I'm victory stepping. Where the grass is the densest, my sobriety's endless. We see no competition, like Faux High soccer. Or like the spitters of the army of the Pharaoh's roster. Those are Guadalupe statues on Maryland Poplar. Sobriety's a shield, I'm not a Percocet popper. And any weapon colonizers formed against me won't prosper. That's a lot of native DNA from cherry to alder. I'll be buried by my altar, immortal technique, the martyr on replay. I learned to read and write a couple blocks from the speedway.
Phenomenal one.
Like guerrilla warfare with the grass from that Fontana district where the grass is dense.
I gotta be sober. I'm the phenomenal one. Jaguar. Look to the side of the freeway exit. That's what the keepers of Jag Arreola were left with. I know where I started at. 92335 at the bottom of the address. Live Oak, Sequoia, Faux High. I send revolutionary greetings always until victory won.